Okay, so now in the last session, we have talked about different type of APIs and how to call them. And we have seen also that how you can call, and whenever you are calling the API, how you can get the details using this view result tree option. So this is this all thing we have done in the previous session. So let me run it and just see again that it is working or not. So it's working, and you can see here in the user group, I make a thread of 5 users. Okay, now I will do one thing. Today I'm going to cover the most important part, that is called pulling the data. You can see using the data from the Excel. Okay, so this is very important aspect of the performance testing, because what happens in the performance testing, two things are very important. One thing is that you have to create the virtual number of users, and which is provided by the JMeter with the option that is called user group. So here you can configure number of threads, means number of users you can configure. You want 5 user, 500, 5 lakhs users. So whatever number of users you want to configure, you can mention here and it will create the virtual number of users. Now you will see in the last time what I have done. If you take the example of the get student by ID. So in this API, you will see I'm using the data to get the details of the student for the ID 1. That's why in the API, last you can say I'm passing /1. Are you getting my point, Niveda? So what we have done in the API, we have used /1. So what is 1? One is the path parameter. One is the path parameter. So now the thing is that if we are running the same API with, suppose take the example, 100 number of virtual users. So every user will use the same ID to get the details. This is the real scenario? No. In the real scenario, what happens? If there are multiple number of real users, they are going to get the details 99% for their own ID. So it means this ID will not be same for every user or every request. So what is the solution for that? Actually, what we can do, we can actually prepare or get the data, test data in an Excel file, or you can say, let me show you first of all, then I will. So you can take the example, this is a file that is called API data. Okay, so this is a file. So let me open it. So here you will see, in case of JMeter, we do not use the Excel file. We do not use the Excel file. We use a specific format of the file that is called CSV. Anybody of you know the CSV? What is CSV file? Anybody of you know?
Yes, Pradeep. So it is like Excel, but it's
yes,
in text form.
Yes, you are right. Clapping for you. Exactly. What has happened? The CSV file is actually known as, it is, you can say commonly term as comma separated file. Okay, comma separated file. So what happens? You will see when I double click, the extension of this file is .csv. So when I double click on it, it is opening the file using the Excel. But actually, you want to see what is the actual format. Right click on it and open it with the help of any normal text editor like Edit Plus or Notepad, you will see. So this is the actual format. You can see here the data is separated by comma, like ID, comma, name, comma, age, comma, subject. In the second row, you just put the data in the same sequence, like ID, then comma, name, then comma, age, then comma, subject. So you will create the record in the same manner. So the extension of this file is CSV. Okay. Now what happens? It is a, you can say it is a format which is actually partially supported by the Excel. So that's why when you double click on it, Excel is also able to open this file. So in that case, you will not able to see the comma. Comma is, you can say, just converted in the column A, B, C, D. So what we have to do in case of JMeter, we have to pull the data from the CSV. So how we can do? Let me show you that thing. So for that purpose, let me do one thing. Let me disable all the others API like create a student and create a student and get all students. So I'm disabling these two because I want to show you the data by pulling from the Excel. So I am taking the example of only get a student by ID. Okay. So what I will do, if you want to use this one, click on user group and you have an option that is called config element. What is the option? Config element. In the config element, you will get the first option that is called CSV data set config. CSV data set config. You click on it. Now, what you can say, whatever you want. You want to give any name here? for your this CSV data. For example, I can say test data. You can give any name. Okay, that will be reflected at left side. You can see here test data. Okay, now in the file name, what you have to do, you have to select the file from where you want to pull the data. So click on browse, and where you have to go, you have to go the same location where you have created your test data file. And I think it was in the Pradeep data, and the name of the file was API test data. Where is that file? API test data, this one, API test data. Okay, let me check again. API date.csv. Okay, this one. Now click open. So you have selected the file. Okay, now you don't need to fill anything in the file encoding. Now come to the variable names. And here in the bracket, you can see it is written comma delimited. What do you mean delimited? It means what you can do here. Actually, you can declare few variables here. Okay, here you can declare few variables here. Now, what you have to do here, you have to keep one thing clearly in your mind, that here you can declare the variable. So the sequence of variables should be the sequence of columns here in the CSV. So the sequence is ID, name, age, and subject. So you should create a variable name here in the same sequence. It doesn't mean that you are going to use the same word. You can use different word. Like I can use ID, name, comma, age, comma, subject. But the sequence of variables and the sequence of here, you can say the data, like first is ID, then name, then age and subject. You have seen same thing in the SOAP UI, that you have to follow the same sequence. ID, name, age, subject. So here we are writing ID, name, age and subject. Is it okay? And by default, you will see again in the next line, ignore first line, only used if variable name is not empty. So ignore first line, we have to use ignore. Yes or no? Tell me, we should ignore or not?
You should ignore.
Yes, we should ignore, because the reason is that in my CSV file, actually first row is not a data. It is just displaying the name of the variables. Okay, so what we can do here, instead of selecting false, we can say ignore first line means true. If your data is starting from the first line, like this was the first row, 1 Pradeep and 35 SOAP, you are not using any header, then you should not make it true. You should make it false. Now in the delimiter, use /tab for tab, and we are using CSV. So in the CSV, what is the separator? Comma. So by default, it is comma. Okay. Now recycle on the end of the file is true. I will tell you what is the use of that. Stop thread on the end of file, false. I will tell you. And sharing mode, all that. So I will tell you about these two things. What is recycle on end of the file and stop thread on end of the file. I will tell you about that. Okay. So for the timing, tell me, how many threads are there? 5. And how many records are there? How many records are there? How many IDs are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let me put some more IDs. Let me copy few more data so that I can show you. So I can write randomly. I can ID some different ID here. Let me write 34. Let me write 56. And here I can write again 78. And it should be, I think, something 6, 7, 8. There should be, I think. So we have how many data we have? We have 1, 2, we have 9
8 data.
8 data. We have 8 data, right? We have 8 data. Now you'll see what is happening. Now I will do one thing. Let me run your test case. So when you run the test case, what happened that it should pick the data from this test data, and it should use in your get student by ID request. So now the thing is that, so first of all, what you have to do, just drag this test data and take it at the top, this one. Now in get student ID, what is the test data you need? ID. Yes or no? Yes, you need ID. Yes or no? Because in create student, you need data, name, is subject, so that you can create the record. But in case of get student ID, what is the parameter? What is the test data? ID. Yes or no?
Yes.
So now you will see what we have to do in case of one. One is the hard-coded value. Now you have to use the value which is getting from the, which you are getting from the Excel. So when you read, when the test data component will run, it will read the value from the Excel, and the first column, the value, that is ID, will be mapped with the variable this ID. So it means if you want to use the ID column data in your automation, so wherever you want to use, you have to use this pattern, dollar, curly braces, and give the name of your variable. Are you getting my point? If you want to use any variable, what is the use? How you can use the variable dollar, curly braces, and in the bracket you have to use ID. So runtime, this dollar, curly braces, ID will be replaced by the actual value which is read by the Excel. Now you want to see? Let me show you this thing. So now let me click on this this view result tree. Let me clear all the data here and let me run it and see what happens. So it ran the test cases. Now go and see. In the request, you can see what is the ID you are able to see at the last? 1. Are you able to see request student/1? And in the response data, are you getting the data? Yes or no? Now let me click the second request. It is saying failure. Sorry, this ID do not exist. Can you check the request? What ID it is picking? Guys, tell me what ID it is picking in the request? 9. Now just go to the third request. This time ID is 11. You want to check the data? Yes, for 11, it is giving the data 90 man subject. So you can see here 12, ID 12 is here. In GetStream ID 34 is there. So it means it is picking the data from here. Getting my point? Yes or no? So anybody can tell me why it picked only the 5 data from 1 to 34? Why it has not picked the data 56, 78 and 678? Anybody can tell me? It is a very common thing because how many threads we have?
5 threads.
Yes, we have only 5 threads. So definitely, and you will see we have 5 threads and in the loop count we have used 1. It means every user will get a chance to hit 1 request. Now if you will give it 15, just see what will happen. I'm giving it 15. Save it and now let's run it and see what will happen. Clear the logs, run it again. How many requests are generated? 15. Now you can check what will happen. First is ID 1, then the ID is 9, then 11, then 12, then 34, 56, 78, 670. And what happened after that? It is again repeating the same. Yes or no?
Yes.
So what happens? Because you have given the 15 requests and you have the data only for 8. So what will happen? It will use the first of all, it will pick all the IDs from the Excel. And when all the data is completed and you have more requests, so it again start from the starting. Getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes.
So it means it start from the, because it has to complete the request and it is going to pull the data from the Excel. So once all the data is, it means if the number of data is less than from the number of request, automatically the data will be repeated. Getting my point? Now go to the test data here. So here you can say recycle on end of the file. Recycle on end of the file. Why it is repeating the data? Because you have written recycle on end of the file means true. So it means when the data will be complete, it will recycle the test data. Are you getting my point? Are you getting my point? You have 15 requests and you have only 8 data. So how it is making again it is using the data because you have configured recycle on end of the file. Let me make it false. Let's make it false. And also use stop thread on end of the file true. Now just see what will happen. We have 15 requests. Now this time run it and see what will happen. Anybody can guess what will happen? Anybody can guess? Tell me, anybody can guess? Simple. We have how many requests? We have 15. But how much data we have for 8 requests? Yes or no? So that's why in the test data, we have configured this thing, recycle on end of the file. False means we do not have to recycle it. At the same time, stop thread on the end of the file. True means if the file data is completed, stop the thread. So you have only 8 data and you have 15 requests, but data is completed. So it is stop the request. Getting my point?
Yes.
So mainly you should do one thing. Don't use this cycle end of the file false. Always try to make it true, because if you have more requests and you have less data, at least it should use it again. Stop thread end of the file. Now it's your choice. You want to stop or not, but by default it should take false. So you have given option if you want to do, otherwise you should use this true and false. So anybody have any doubt? Say yes or no. Say yes or no.
No, Doctor.
Great. So now tell me one thing. As I have done in case of get student by ID, let me disable it. Can you tell me if I want to use the create student? In the create student, I want to use some data. So what was the test data? Here, this is the test data. Yes or no? Age, name, subject. This is the test data. Yes or no? So now tell me, in the test data, we are reading other data also, names, age, subject. We are reading, yes or no?
Yes.
So anybody can tell me, we are already reading the data from this variable. So anybody can tell me how we can utilize in the create student case in the body? Simple. In case of name, just remove this hard-coded value. And what is the pattern to use a variable? Dollar, curly braces, and the name of the variable. Yes or no? And same you have to follow for age. Dollar. So this is the rule of the JMeter, that if you want to use any variable, what you have to do? Dollar, curly braces, and the name of the variable. Getting my point? And the last one is subject. Dollar, curly braces, and here you have to write the subject. So let me copy the subject variable and put it here. Now I'm going to run it and just see. And this time you have to see carefully whether it is using the different this data or not. Like Pradeep 35 soap, Soumya 22 selenium, Soumya 22 selenium. So I've repeated here. If you want to see, I can change some data here, like Rahul. Okay, here Prinka is here again. So I can use some different data. For example, I can use Payal. And here you can make any changes like 34. 2 times we have selenium. Pradeep is okay. Soumya, let me, instead of Soumya, let me write the, and selenium is okay. Let me change the value here. Here you can say rest assured, and and here I can write Soumya we have already used. We can use Deepak. We can use Deepak. D-E-E. Okay, and let me see. Now just see, when I'm going to run this, it is actually pulling these data, these 8 data from the Excel and creating the records or not. It should be, yes or no, it should be the case. So let me run it and see what is happening. Let me run it. Now you can check the request and response also. It's working. Age 35, Pradeep Soap, yes or no? Can you check this one? Can you check another request? Yes or no? Yes. It is pulling the data, and now in the response you can get the IDs 2971. You can say 71, 72, 73, 74, 75. So now you got the point how you can read the data from the Excel. Those things are very important. How you configure the virtual users and how you get the data from the Excel. These 2 things are actually going to make your performance testing automation very, very good. Okay, now in the last session, I've also told you one thing, that in your view results in table, there is a column that is called bytes. I told you this thing. If you have not revised, you cannot tell, but if you revise, you can tell me what is the difference between the bytes and send bytes. Send byte is the data which you are, this is the size of your request. And what is the bytes? It is the size of your response. It is the size of your, getting my point, is the size of response. So now you will see, this time, are you able to see the difference between the bytes and send bytes? You can say send bytes is 305. 308, 307. Size of bytes are different, yes or no? So how it is different? Because now you are creating the data. You are using different type of data. And in the response, you are getting the same type of, you can say, data. So here you can say, this is your body data. And if you want to see the response, you can see the response in this way, response data. Okay, so this is the way to read the data from the Excel. So anybody have any doubt? Anybody have any doubt? Say yes or no. No? Okay. Deepak, you have any doubt?
No, Pradeep.
Okay, great. So this is about the automation. In the same way, you can run any type of API. Now come to the question that if this values like start time, thread name, these all data is appearing in the form of your dashboard. But what if you want to share this information with somebody? So how you can save it? So in that case, or indirectly you can say how you can create a report for that. So in that case, you will see, are you able to see option that write results to a file, read from file? Are you able to see this option, write result to a file? So here you can choose any file here. So I'm choosing a file here. You can choose any file here, browse, and you can choose any file name. So I can do one thing here. You can give any file name also. So let me check the path, Pradeep data, and in Pradeep data, you can choose any file name. I'm choosing the file name, for example, student 17th batch report. Okay, now click on open. Okay, now this one. Now what you will do, click again, run your automation. So let me clear it and run your automation here. Let me run. It is running. Now do one thing, go to this location, deep data, and see any report is generated. Are you able to see this report? Student 17th batch report. Are you able to see Niveda? And
Yes.
let me
Yes,
double.
Pradeep.
So
Yes.
can you see all the data is captured here? You can see all the data is captured here. Like what is the thread response time? Everything is captured here, even the URL. So you can see each and every data is captured here. Latency, idle time, connect, send byte, group thread name, everything, pass and failure, because everything is pass. So that's why you're not able to see. Otherwise it will capture the data pass and. Are you able to see, getting my point? Yes or no? So how you can generate a report here with the help of this option file. So here two things are there: file, write result to the file, read from the file. So if the file is exist, you can use the existing file. If you want to create new file, simply give the file path with the extension .chv and it will create the file for you. Getting my point? And same way, if you want to save the data in this way, file name in your tree format like request and response, same thing you can do here also. Is it okay? Now I will do one thing. Here you can make a filter also in your CSV report file. Like you want to capture the errors, click on errors. You want to capture the success? Yes. So if you want to click, it depends on that. You want to check errors or you want to check successes. If you want to alter the columns, like you have columns sample, start, thread name, label, sample time, status, bytes, click on configure. Here you will see more columns here. Getting my point? Now here is the option. You want to save the data in the form of Excel, you can click on it. Are you getting my point? These are the other options which you can use at the time of creating the report. If you don't want to save anything, you can uncheck it. If you want to save some extra column or data, you can use it. Are you getting my point? Yes or no? As you can see, save as XML. If you want to save the data as XML, you can click on it. save time stamp, save response code, save data type, save thread name. So many things are there. Save sample and error counts, save host name. So these are the things you can configure if you want to configure or you want to get this type of data. Otherwise, these data is sufficient. Getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes.
So anybody have any question till now? Anybody have any question? Great. Now I'll tell you one thing. Actually, what happens? What is the base of your performance testing? Tell me what really matters in the performance thing. The time. Yes or no? Time is the main factor of performance. Yes or no? You agree on it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
now what happens? This is the reason. That's why whenever you are developing your automation, your JMeter, it is recommended that you should use the UI format. Should use the JMeter UI for your development purpose. But it is recommended that you should not use the GUI format, GUI mode for your running automation. Reason is that itself, whenever you are running your automation in this GUI, means in this UI mode itself, this UI is taking some time. Getting my point? UI is itself taking some time and memory to send the request. Are you getting my point? Because you are able to see this beautiful UI, this file menu options, this structure user group, this start sample timetable. So it itself is taking some time to maintain the data. Are you getting my point, all of you? Are you getting my point? If you are not getting, you can ask me. You are getting this point that itself UI is taking some time and memory when it is sending the request from JMeter to the server and it is getting the response. You are getting this point?
Yes, yes.
So now it is advisable then whenever you have developed this automation framework, like the students, some 17th test plan you have created. Now, whenever you want to run this actual one in the actual manner, don't open this UI. Don't open this UI. So now the question is that how you can run it? How you can run it without opening the JMeter? So in that case, what you have to do, let me first of all show you that where is this project is saved. Okay, so you can check the location. This project is saved. Let me show you. Go to your JMeter directory where JMeter is. You have installed like E softwares, JMeter bin. And now check it here. Are you able to see your project name? What was the name of your project? This was 17th batch test plan. Yes or no? This is your
Yes.
project. So now, and what is the extension of your project in the JMeter? That is called jmx.jmx. Now, without opening the JMeter, how you can run it? And you have to run it. It is recommended. So first of all, save your project and close your JMeter. Now JMeter is closed. Are you able to see JMeter on my screen? No. Now you will see there is a command to run the JMeter. And what is that command? Let me show you. Are you able to see this command? JMeter -n. What do you mean by -n? -n means non-GUI mode. Non-GUI mode. You got my point? What is the mean by non-GUI mode? You can open few softwares you can open without launching the GUI UI, and few software you can launch with GUI. So JMeter comes in the flavor that you can run the JMeter without opening the UI and opening the UI. So at the time of development, you should use the JMeter UI mode. Okay. And at the time of running, you should use the non-GUI mode, non-UI mode. And for that purpose, you have to use JMeter -n. Now -t is the name. -t means you are giving the name of your test plan. In your case, what is the name of your test plan? Let me copy this one so that I can create in front of you for yours. JMeter -n -t. What is the name of your project? This one, yes or no? What is the name of your project? Copy this one. This is the name of your project. So can I put it here? This one, 17 batch test plan. Yes or no?
Yes.
So this is the command. Again, I'm telling JMeter -n means non-GUI mode. So it will not launch the UI, only will run your this automation project. And now after L, actually what happens whenever JMeter runs, it creates a log file. It creates a log file. So you can tell what using which name it should create the log file. You can give any name. Only the mandatory part is you should give the extension .jtl. This is called JMeter log file. So I'm just giving the name this one. You can give any name. I'm just giving the name student 17 batch test plan log. Okay. Now the last option is very, very important. -e, -o, and in the last you give the path where it will create the beautiful HTML report for you. This is very important. So here you can, what you can do, I'm just creating a folder with the name of student 17 batch test plan reports. So what it will do, it will create the report in this folder. So anybody want to ask any in this command, or should I run it? So how you can run it? Open the command prompt, and in the command prompt, first of all, you have to go to the location of bin directory where JMeter test plan is there. So I'm copying this one. This is the path of the JMeter test plan. I'm saying CD and this one. So now tell me, what is the location of, what is the current working directory in my command prompt? What is the current working directory? Tell me. Bin is the current working directory, yes or no?
Yes.
And your test plan is also located in the same directory. So now you can run this command, copy and paste it here. So let me make it a little bit big so that you can find it easily. So now I'm making a enter. Da, da, da. So now you can see it is running the JMeter and running, and also it has run all the code here. Okay, now you can see and go and check your directory where it has created a report for or not. What was the location? D Pradeep data student 17th batch test plan reports. Go to that location. D Pradeep data student 17th batch test plan report, and click on this index.html, and you will be surprised how beautiful reports it has created. Are you able to see the report? Dashboard. Are you able to see the report and scroll it? You will be surprised. Are you getting the record? Are you getting the report? Create students. How many requests are there? Sample 15.
50.
Yes. So you can see you don't need to make any effort. It is creating a good report, and it is also making report on the base of different type of parameters, which is used by the performance analyst. Like here you can say toleration threshold, frustration threshold. So everything it is. Now it is not only creating one report, it is creating different type of reports automatically. Click on charts. Over time. You can see the performance over time. Yes or no? It means it is creating the graph between the average response time and average elapsed time. Are you able to see? You can click on it. It is creating the report on response time, elapsed time, whatever you want to see. And trust me, it is creating good reports. Now you can see, click on this, and you don't need to make any effort. It is creating. Okay. Now here you can select different type of response time you want to see. Click on response time. This one. You want to see the custom graph? Click on this custom graph. This one. So actually you can see in this way, the response time will be more accurate when you are running the JMeter automation using command prompt, because UI is not open. So whatever time or memory is taken by the JMeter, that is not included here. Getting my point? Now it is clear, yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
So this is all about the performance testing of API using JMeter. Now only the thing is that how much you can analyze this report, how you can, that is not, you only cannot analyze the report, because the thing is that you need some good persons which we can analyze, which they can analyze the reports, like what was the factor it was taking the time, why it was in some cases when it is the failing at that time, what was the response time. So you can see it is a collection of graphs and reports which is shared to the client or shared to the person which is going to analyze the performance. Anybody have any question? Anybody have any question?
No, Pradeep.
Okay, so now the thing is, this is all about the API automation of performance testing automation of API using JMeter. So now this is all about, you can say, API testing of automation. And now we have to cover the two more topics in our course, that is called Jenkins and GitHub. Okay. So now this is, you can say, the JMeter performance testing of API part is complete.